Kim Dae-ho wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out of the maintenance tunnel. The air inside Epsilon Station felt thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. He had been working on alien space stations for 5 years, but this one felt different. Something was wrong. "Hey, boss," Park Min-soo called from across the engineering bay. The young mechanic was only 23, but he had sharp eyes and quick hands. "You need to see this." Dae-ho walked over to where Min-soo was kneeling beside a large metal box. Inside the box, pipes and wires twisted together like metal snakes. Blue lights blinked on and off in a pattern that made no sense. "What is it?" Dae-ho asked. "This is the main air maker for the whole station," Min-soo said. His voice was worried. "Look at these readings." He pointed to a small screen. Numbers flashed red and yellow. Dae-ho had seen those colors before. They meant danger. "The pressure is all wrong," Dae-ho said, "and the temperature control is broken." "It's worse than that," Min-soo said. "If this keeps going, the whole system will stop working in 2 days, maybe less." Dae-ho felt his stomach drop. Epsilon Station was home to 50,000 aliens from dozens of different worlds. If the air system failed, they would all die. "Liu." Hee-jin walked over to them. She was the team's computer expert, and she looked tired. "I've been checking the other systems," she said. "They're all connected. If the airmaker breaks, it will take down the power grid too." "How bad?" asked Choi Tae-wook. The older man was their team leader for repairs. He had worked on stations like this for 15 years. "Very bad," Hee-jin said. "The whole station could become a dead rock floating in space." Song Yuna looked up from her communication desk. "Should I call the station commander?" "Not yet," Dae-ho said. "Let's see if we can fix it first." The team got to work. Dae-ho and Min-soo opened up the main control panel. Inside they found a mess of alien technology. The aliens who built this station had used parts from many different worlds. Nothing fit together properly. "No wonder it's breaking," Min-soo said. "Look at this wiring. It's like they just stuck pieces together and hoped for the best." "Can we fix it?" Tae-wook asked. "Maybe," Dae-ho said. "But we'll have to do it our way, not theirs." The humans had learned that alien engineers followed very strict rules. Every repair had to be done exactly the same way, using exactly the same parts. But humans were different. They could look at a problem and find new ways to solve it. For the next 6 hours, the team worked without stopping. They rerouted pipes, rewired circuits, and replaced broken parts with human-made substitutes. Slowly, the red warning lights began to turn green. "It's working," Min-soo shouted. "The pressure is coming back up." Dae-ho smiled for the first time in days. "Good work, everyone. Let's run a full system check." That's when the trouble started. The engineering bay doors burst open with a loud crash. 6 alien security guards rushed in, wearing black armor and carrying energy weapons. Their leader was tall and thin with green scales and yellow eyes. He looked angry. "Step away from the equipment," the leader shouted. "You are under arrest." "What?" Dae-ho said. "We were just fixing—" Silence. The alien pointed his weapon at Dae-ho's chest. "You have damaged critical station systems. This is an act of terrorism." "Terrorism?" Yuna stood up from her desk. "We saved your station." "You made unauthorized changes to galactic standard equipment," another guard said. This one looked like a giant bug, with 4 arms and black eyes. "That is against station law." "But the system was broken," Min-soo said. "It would have killed everyone." "Lies," the scaled alien hissed. "You sabotaged our system so you could pretend to fix them. This is a human trick." More guards came through the door. Soon, the engineering bay was full of armed aliens. Some looked like reptiles, others like insects or rocks. But they all had the same look in their eyes: fear and anger. "Put your hands up," the leader ordered. "All of you." The humans had no choice. They raised their hands and let the guards put metal cuffs on their wrists. The cuffs were too big for human hands, but they still hurt. "Wait," Hee-jin said. "Let me show you the readings. You can see that we fixed the problem." "Do not touch anything," The bug-like guard shouted, "You have done enough damage." As they were led away, Daeho saw alien engineers rushing into the bay. They were already starting to undo all the human repairs. They pulled out the human-made parts and threw them in the trash. They rewired the circuits back to their original configuration. "Stop," Daeho called out. "You're going to break it again." "The humans are trying to confuse us," one of the alien engineers said. "Follow standard repair protocol. Remove all unauthorized modifications." "This is insane," Taewook said as the guards pushed them down a long hallway. "They're going to kill themselves." The detention center was in the lowest part of the station. The cells were small and dark, built for different kinds of aliens. The humans were put in a cell meant for rock creatures, so everything was too big and hard. Through the bars they could see monitors showing the station's systems. The numbers were already starting to turn yellow again. "How long do you think we have?" Minsu asked. Hyejin was studying the monitors. "If they keep undoing our work, maybe 18 hours before the first systems fail completely." "And then?" Yuna asked. "Then this station becomes a tomb," Daeho said. Outside their cell, alien guards walked back and forth. They talked in their own languages, but the humans could hear the worry in their voices. Other prisoners in nearby cells were getting nervous, too. Word was spreading that something was wrong with the station. "I tried to send a message to Earth," Yuna said quietly, "but they cut off our communications. They're calling us terrorists. Terrorists who were trying to save their lives," Taewook said bitterly. On the monitors, more warning lights began to flash. The atmospheric pressure was dropping again. Temperature controls were failing. The power grid showed signs of stress. "They don't understand," Minsu said. "They think their way is the only way. And their way is going to kill everyone on this station," Daeho replied. Through the small window in their cell, they could see other parts of the station. Aliens were starting to look worried. Some were packing bags and heading for the shuttle bays. The smart ones were already leaving, but 50,000 aliens couldn't evacuate in time. Most of them didn't even know what was happening. They trusted their leaders to keep them safe. "We have to get out of here," Daeho said. "We have to fix this before it's too late." "How?" Hyejin asked. "We're locked up and they think we're the enemy." Daeho looked at his team. They were tired, scared, and trapped. But they were also the only people on the station who understood what was really happening. "I don't know yet," he said. "But we'll find a way. We have to." On the monitors, another system warning light turned red, then another. The station was dying, and its own people were killing it by following rules instead of thinking. Time was running out. Chief Engineer Morthek had worked on space stations for 40 years. He was proud of his knowledge and his strict following of galactic repair rules. Every problem had a proper solution, and every solution was written in the official manuals. But today, nothing was working the way it should. "Sir, the atmospheric pressure is dropping again," his assistant Velkan reported. The young engineer's forearms moved quickly over the control panels, but the numbers kept getting worse. "Impossible," Morthek said. His rocky skin was turning darker, which happened when he was stressed. "We followed the standard repair procedure exactly. We removed all the human modifications and restored the original settings." "Maybe we should look at what the humans actually did," Velkan suggested. Carefully, "No." Morthek's voice echoed through the engineering bay. "Humans are primitive. Their methods are crude and dangerous. We will not copy their mistakes." But deep inside, Morthek was worried. The station's life support systems were getting worse every hour. The repairs should have worked. They always worked before. In Section 7, the air was getting thin. Alien families were starting to feel dizzy and sick. Children were crying because they couldn't breathe properly. The adults tried to stay calm, but panic was growing. Captain Zornak, a purple-skinned alien with 6 legs, called the command center. "Commander Vextar, my people can barely breathe. What's wrong with the air?" "Minor technical problems," Vextar replied. "Our engineers are fixing it." But Vextar didn't sound confident anymore. Through his office window, he could see long lines of aliens waiting at the shuttle bays. Many were trying to leave the station. Down in the detention center, The human prisoners watched the monitors with growing fear. Every few minutes, another warning light turned red. Oxygen levels in Section 12 are now critical, Hyojin read from the screen. Her voice was tight with worry. Temperature control is failing in Sections 3, 8, and 15, Minsu added. And the power grid is overloading. Daeho pressed his face against the cell bars. Guard, you have to listen to us. A tall, insect-like guard walked over. His name was Quindara, and he was the head of station security. Be quiet, human. You have caused enough problems. We didn't cause this, Daeho said. Your engineers are making it worse by undoing our repairs. Your repairs were sabotage, Quindara replied. Chief Engineer Morthek knows what he is doing. Then why are people dying? Yuna asked. Quindara's black eyes flickered. No one is dying. Check. Section 7, Heejun said, pointing at the monitor. Check the medical bay reports. Against his better judgment, Quindara looked at the screen. The medical bay was reporting 12 aliens with severe breathing problems. 3 were children. This is temporary, Quindara said, but he didn't sound sure. In the engineering bay, Morthek was getting desperate. His team had tried every standard procedure, but nothing worked. The atmospheric processors were breaking down faster than they could fix them. Sir, Velkin said quietly. I found something in the trash. He held up a small device made of human materials. It was one of the parts the humans had installed. Throw that away, Morthek ordered. Human technology is inferior. But sir, look at this. Velkan connected a scanner to the device. The readings show it was actually working. It was regulating pressure better than our standard parts. Morthek's rocky face turned even darker. Impossible. Humans don't understand our technology. Maybe they understand it differently? Velkan suggested. Differently wrong. Morthek smashed his fist on the control panel. We follow galactic standards for a reason. Human methods are chaos. But even as he said this, Morthek was thinking, the human modifications had been strange. Instead of following the manual, they had connected systems in new ways. They had used parts that weren't supposed to work together. It looked wrong, but... Sir, another engineer called out, power grid failure in Section 12. We're losing life support completely. Morthek ran to the main control board. Red warning lights covered the entire display like a disease. Everything they had repaired was breaking again, but worse than before. In the detention center, the lights suddenly went out. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, but the red glow made everything look like blood. That's it, Taewook said. We're out of time. Hye-jin had been working on something in the corner of the cell. She was using pieces of her tool belt and parts from the cell's maintenance panel. I might be able to hack into the station's communication system, she said. What good will that do? Minsu asked. Maybe I can get a message out, she replied. Tell someone what's really happening here. The aliens cut off all outside communications, Yuna reminded her. They cut off the official channels, Hyojin said with a small smile. But every station has emergency maintenance frequencies. They probably forgot about those. She worked quickly, her fingers moving over the improvised device. Sparks flew as she connected wires that were never meant to touch. Got it, she whispered. A small screen flickered to life. I'm picking up traffic from nearby ships. Meanwhile, in his office, Commander Vexitar was facing his worst nightmare. His communication board was flashing with emergency calls from all over the station. Sectors were losing power. People were getting sick. Some were starting to die. Sir, his aide trembled. The Galactic Council ship Harmony is requesting permission to dock. Representative Zalvin wants to know why we declared a terrorism emergency. Vextar's scales turned pale. The Galactic Council only sent representatives when something was very wrong. If they discovered that his station was falling apart because he had arrested the people trying to fix it, tell them we have everything under control, he said weakly. But nothing was under control. Through his office windows he could see the evacuation ships leaving, hundreds of them, carrying aliens who no longer trusted the station to keep them alive. In Section 7, the first death occurred. An elderly alien named Fel Moth, who had lived on the station for 30 years, simply stopped breathing. The medical team tried to save him, but there wasn't enough oxygen in the air. The news spread quickly through the station. Fear turned to panic. More aliens rushed to the shuttle bays, pushing and fighting to get on the evacuation ships. Back in the engineering bay, Morthek stared at the control panels in horror. Every system was failing, and nothing he tried made any difference. His 40 years of experience meant nothing if the methods he trusted were wrong. Velkin approached him carefully. "Sir, maybe we should ask the humans for help?" "Never," Morthek's voice cracked. "I will not admit that primitive humans know more than I do." But even as he said it, he was looking at the device Velkan had found. Such a simple thing made of basic materials. But it had worked when their advanced technology had failed. In the detention center, Hyejin's improvised communicator crackled to life. "This is cargo ship Thunder Wind," a human voice said through the static. "We're receiving an emergency signal from Epsilon Station. What's your status?" "This is Lee Hyejin, Human Engineering Team," she whispered into the device. "We're being held prisoner while the station dies around us. The life support systems are failing because the aliens won't let us fix them properly." "Say again?" "You're prisoners?" "They think we're terrorists, but we're the only ones who know how to save this place," Hyejin said urgently. "You have to warn other ships. This station is going to become a dead zone in less than 12 hours. The signal cut to static, but not before they heard the human captain curse loudly. "Think he'll help?" Minsu asked. "He'll try," Daeho said, "but I don't know if it will be enough." On the monitors, more sections of the station went dark. The numbers showing breathable air were dropping toward zero in several areas. Soon there would be places on the station where no one could survive. "We have to get out of here," Daeho said. "We have to try to fix this ourselves." "How?" Yuna asked. "The guards will shoot us if we try to escape." "Maybe," Daeho said grimly, "but if we don't try, everyone on the station will die, including us." Outside their cell, they could hear the guards talking nervously. Even the security team was starting to understand that something was very wrong. Some of them had families. On the station, too. The deterioration was accelerating. What had started as a technical problem was becoming a disaster that would kill thousands of innocent people. And the only ones who could stop it were locked away, branded as criminals for trying to help. Time was almost up. The power went out again. This time it stayed out for almost a full minute before the emergency lights came back on. In that darkness, Choi Tae-wook made his decision. "Next time the power fails, we go," he whispered to the others. "I've been watching the guards. When the lights go out, they get confused. Their night vision isn't as good as ours." "Where do we go?" Minsu asked. "Daeho and I will head to the main engineering bay," Tae-wook said. "Hyejin, you come with us. Yuna, you stay here and keep that communication line open. Tell anyone who will listen what's really happening." "What about me?" Minsu asked. Tae-wook looked at the young man sadly. "You're the best of us at fixing things, but you're also the youngest. If we get caught, I'm going," Minsu said firmly. "These people are dying because of their pride. I won't sit here and watch." Before anyone could argue, the lights went out again. This time, Tae-wook was ready. The cell lock was electronic, but like most alien technology, it had backup systems that humans could understand. Tae-wook had been a soldier before he became a mechanic, and he knew how to break things quietly. In the darkness, he used a piece of metal from his belt to short-circuit the lock. The door opened with a soft click. "Go, go, go," he whispered. The four humans slipped out of their cell. The corridor was pitch black except for a few emergency lights. They could hear the guards talking nervously at the other end of the hall. "The power keeps failing," one guard was saying in broken galactic common. "Maybe we should check on the prisoners." Later, another replied, "I don't want to deal with angry humans in the dark." The escape team moved like shadows. Tae-wook led the way, using his military training to avoid the security cameras. Behind him, Daeho, Minsu, and Hyejin followed in single file. They reached a maintenance shaft that led to the upper levels. One by one, they climbed through the narrow tunnel. The air inside was hot and smelled like burning circuits. The whole electrical system is overloading, Hyejin whispered as they crawled. These power failures are just the beginning. 20. Minutes later, they emerged near the main engineering bay. Through the doorway, they could see Chief Engineer Morthek and his team working frantically at the control panels. Nothing they did seemed to help. Pressure dropping in Section 15, one alien engineer shouted. Life support failing in Sectors 4 through 9, called another. The reactor is overheating, a third voice added. Morthek stood in the center of it all, his rocky skin now almost black with stress. His forearms moved over different control panels, but every action seemed to make things worse. Sir, Velkan ran up to him. I found more of the human modifications in the waste disposal. He held up several small devices that the humans had installed. They looked simple compared to the complex alien technology around them. Destroy them, Morthek ordered. But sir, I ran tests. These devices were actually working. They were preventing exactly the kind of cascade failure we're seeing now. Impossible! Morthek's voice was desperate now. Human technology is primitive. It cannot be better than ours. From their hiding spot, Daeho watched the argument with growing horror. The alien engineers were so convinced of their superiority that they would rather die than admit humans might know something they didn't. We have to get in there, he whispered to his team. They'll shoot us on sight, Hyejin warned. Maybe, Daeho said. But if we don't try, this whole station becomes a tomb in the next few hours. Minsu was studying the engineering bay layout. Look at that main console, he said quietly. See those red connections? Those are feedback loops. Every time they try to fix one system, it breaks two others. Can you fix it? Taewook asked. I think so, Minsu said. But I'll have to physically disconnect the main power coupling. If I'm wrong, it could cause an explosion. And if you're right, Daeho asked, it might give us enough time to repair the real problems. Inside the engineering bay, alarms were screaming. More systems were failing every minute. Some of the alien engineers were starting to panic. Sir, one of them called out. We have a reactor breach in progress. If it goes critical, it will destroy the entire station. Morthek looked at his control panels in despair. Everything he knew, everything he had learned in 40 years of engineering was useless. The station was dying and he couldn't stop it. That's when Minsu made his choice. The young human ran into the engineering bay, pushing past surprised alien engineers. He dove toward the main power coupling, a massive bundle of cables and circuits that controlled the station's entire power grid. Stop, Morthek shouted. Guards, stop that human. But Minsu was already at the coupling. He could see the problem immediately. The aliens had connected the systems in a way that created a massive feedback loop. Every repair made the problem worse because it fed more power into the failing circuits. Security guards were running toward him, their weapons charging. Minsu had maybe 10 seconds before they reached him. He grabbed the main power cable and yanked it free. The engineering bay plunged into darkness. For a moment there was complete silence except for the hum of emergency power kicking in. Then the lights came back on, and everything was different. The red warning lights on the control panels had changed to yellow. The screaming alarms had stopped. The numbers showing reactor temperature were starting to drop. What did you do? Morthek asked in shock. I broke the feedback loop, Minsu said, still holding the power cable. Your systems were fighting each other. Now they can work together. That's when the security guard shot him. The energy blast hit Minsu in the chest, spinning him around and sending him crashing to the floor. He lay there, not moving, still clutching the power cable that had saved thousands of lives. You shot him, Velkan screamed at the guard. He just saved us. The guard looked confused. But he was sabotaging. Look at the displays. Velkan pointed at the control panels. Look at what he did. All around the engineering bay, Alien engineers were staring at their instruments in amazement. The systems that had been failing for hours were suddenly stable. The reactor temperature was dropping toward safe levels. Life support was coming back online. Daeho ran to Minsu's side. The young man was badly hurt, but he was still breathing. "Did it work?" Minsu whispered. "It worked," Daeho said, tears in his eyes. "You saved them all." Morthek walked slowly, over to where Minsu lay bleeding. His dark, rocky skin was starting to lighten as his stress decreased. For the first time in his 40-year career, he was looking at a problem he couldn't solve with the official manuals. "How did you know?" he asked Minsu quietly. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one," Minsu said weakly. "You don't always need to follow the rules. Sometimes you need to break them." Around the engineering bay, other alien engineers were starting to understand. The human hadn't been sabotaging their systems, he had been trying to save them. Velkan knelt beside Minsu. "We're sorry," he said. "We didn't understand." "It's okay," Minsu replied. "Just don't let pride kill people, please." Chief Engineer Morthek looked at his control panels, then at the bleeding human who had just taught him more about engineering in 30 seconds than he had learned in 40 years. The breaking point had been reached. For the first time, an alien engineer was beginning to understand that humans weren't primitive at all. They were just different. And sometimes different was exactly what the galaxy needed. Minsu was still bleeding when the medics arrived. The alien doctors worked quickly, but they kept looking at him strangely. They couldn't understand why a terrorist had just saved their lives. "Will he live?" Daeho asked. "Yes," the lead doctor said. She had purple skin and gentle eyes. "But he needs surgery. The energy blast damaged his lung." As they carried Minsu away on a stretcher, he grabbed Daeho's hand. "The air recycler in Section 3, he whispered. "It's still broken. Check valve 7. Even while hurt and bleeding, Minsu was still thinking about fixing things. Chief Engineer Morthek watched the medical team leave with the human. Then he looked at his control panels again. The systems were stable for now, but he could see other problems starting to appear. "Velkan," he said quietly, "show me what the humans actually did." His assistant brought out the devices they had thrown away. Each one was simple, made from basic materials. But when Velkan connected them to the test equipment, they worked perfectly. "This pressure regulator," Velkan explained. "It's not made the way our manuals say, but it responds faster to changes than our standard parts." Morthek studied the device. It looked wrong according to everything he had learned, but the test results didn't lie. "And this?" He pointed to another human modification. "A bypass circuit. When one system fails, this automatically switches to a backup. Our systems don't do that. They just shut down and wait for manual repair." For 40 years, Morthek had believed that galactic engineering standards were perfect. Every procedure was tested and approved by the smartest minds in the galaxy, but these simple human devices worked better than anything in his manuals. "Sir," another engineer called out, "we're getting reports from Section 3. The air recycler is failing again." Morthek closed his eyes. The young human had been right about that too. Meanwhile, in the communication center, Hyejin had reached the emergency broadcast station. She was sending out a constant signal to any ships in the area. "This is Epsilon Station Emergency," she broadcast. "Human engineering team falsely imprisoned while life support systems fail. Station command refuses assistance. Thousands of lives at risk." The signal was picked up by the cargo ship Thunderwind, which had been waiting outside the station's space. Captain Park Hyunwoo was an old friend of Daeho's, and he was furious about what was happening. "This is Thunderwind to all ships in the sector," he broadcast on the emergency frequency. "Epsilon Station is in crisis. Their government has arrested the only people who can save them. We need to spread the word." Within an hour, the story was being told across the galaxy. Human ships, alien freighters, even military vessels were hearing about the situation. Many of them started heading toward Epsilon Station. In his office, Commander Vextar was facing his worst nightmare. His communication board was full of incoming messages from angry ship captains, worried governments, and news reporters. "Sir, his aide said nervously. The Galactic Council ship is demanding permission to dock. Representative Zalvin says he's coming aboard whether we give permission or not. Vextar's scales had turned completely pale. The Galactic Council representative was one of the most powerful beings in known space. If he discovered that Vextar had caused this crisis by arresting innocent people. Sir, there's more, the aide continued. 47 ships are requesting emergency docking. They're bringing medical supplies and engineering teams. Turn them away, Vextar ordered. Sir, some of them are military vessels. They're not asking permission anymore. Through his office window, Vextar could see ships arriving from all directions. Human ships, alien vessels, even some he didn't recognize. Word had spread across the galaxy that Epsilon Station was in trouble. In the engineering bay, Morthek was having the hardest conversation of his life. The humans were right, he told his team. His voice was quiet and ashamed. Everything they did was correct. We caused this crisis by undoing their repairs. Some of the alien engineers looked shocked. Others looked angry. A few, like Velkin, just looked sad. What do we do now? Velkin asked. We learn, Morthek said. We fix our mistakes. And we pray to whatever gods we believe in that it's not too late. Deho and Taewuk were working alongside the alien engineers now. No one had officially released them from custody, but no one was trying to stop them either. The security guards who had arrested them were too busy dealing with the crisis to worry about paperwork. The main atmospheric processor needs a complete rebuild, Deho explained to Morthek. Your people connected it backwards. It's been fighting itself for months. But the manual says... Morthek started, then stopped. Show me. For the next several hours, humans and aliens worked side by side. Deho showed Morthek how to think about problems differently. Instead of following rules, he taught him to understand what each system was trying to do. Engineering isn't about following instructions, Deho said as they rewired a control panel. It's about understanding how things work together. Velkan was learning too. He watched Taewuk repair a broken pump using parts from 3 different systems. It wasn't in any manual, but it worked. How did you know those parts would fit? Velkan asked. I didn't, Taewuk admitted. But I understood what each part was supposed to do. Sometimes you have to improvise. The word improvise didn't translate well into the alien languages. They had no concept for fixing things without following exact procedures. That's when Representative Zalvin arrived. The Galactic Council representative was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to glow. His species was known for being very logical and fair. He walked into the engineering bay followed by a team of investigators. Commander Vextar, Zalvin said in a voice like ice. Explain to me why these humans are working freely after you. Declared them terrorists. Vextar stood in the doorway looking terrified. Sir, the situation has evolved. Evolved? Zalvin looked around the engineering bay. He saw humans and aliens working together, fixing systems that had been broken for hours. It appears that your terrorists are saving your station. There was a misunderstanding, Vextar said weakly. A misunderstanding that nearly killed 50,000 people, Zalvin replied. He walked over to where Deho was working. Are you the leader of the human team? Yes, sir, Deho said. Kim Deho, chief engineer. And you were arrested for fixing the station's life support? We were arrested for not fixing it the way they wanted, Deho said simply. Zalvin looked at the monitoring displays. All the systems that had been failing were now working properly. And your methods? Different from theirs, Deho said. But they work. Chief Engineer Morthek stepped forward. His rocky skin was still dark with shame, but his voice was steady. Representative Zalvin, I must confess. The humans saved this station. They tried to help us and we arrested them for it. I have been an engineer for 40 years, and these humans taught me more in one day than I learned in all that time. The engineering bay went quiet. Every alien engineer was listening. This was the most respected engineer on the station admitting that humans knew things he didn't. Interesting, Zalvin said. He walked over to one of the human modifications that Velkan had saved. "This device is not built to galactic standards." "No, sir," Deho said. "It's built to work." Zalvin studied the device carefully. His species was known for their advanced technology, but even he could see that this simple human creation was cleverly designed. "Representative," Velkan spoke up nervously. "The humans don't follow our rules, but their methods are effective. They solve problems we couldn't solve." "And you learned from them?" Zalvin asked. "Yes, sir. They taught us to think differently." Zalvin nodded slowly. Then he turned to Commander Vextar. "Commander, you will release all charges against the human team immediately. You will also face an investigation for endangering this station through prejudice and poor judgment." Vextar's scales turned even paler, but he nodded. "As for you," Zalvin said to the humans, "the Galactic Council will want to speak with you. It seems we have much to learn about human engineering methods." The revelation was spreading throughout the station now. The humans weren't terrorists or saboteurs. They were teachers, showing the galaxy new ways to solve old problems. But the biggest revelation was yet to come. 3 days later, Minsu was sitting up in his hospital bed, directing repairs through a communication device. Even with bandages covering his chest, he couldn't stop thinking about engineering problems. "The backup generator in Section 12 needs a new cooling system," he told Deho over the comm. "And someone should check the water recycler in the lower levels." Deho smiled. "You're supposed to be resting." "I'll rest when everything works properly," Minsu replied. Outside the medical bay, Epsilon Station was transforming. Human and alien. Engineers worked together in mixed teams. The aliens were learning human methods of creative problem solving. The humans were learning alien precision and planning. Chief Engineer Morthek had become the most eager student of all. He followed Daiho everywhere, asking questions about human engineering philosophy. "But how do you know when to break the rules?" Morthek asked, as they worked on a power coupling. "When the rules don't solve the problem," Daiho said simply. "Rules are tools, not laws of nature. Sometimes you need different tools." "This is very difficult for my people to understand," Morthek admitted. "We have always believed that there is one right way to do everything." "Maybe there is," Daiho said. "But maybe the right way changes depending on the situation." In the main engineering bay, Velkan was teaching a group of young alien engineers about human improvisation techniques. He had learned so much in the past few days that the other aliens called him the human thinker. "Watch how Chief Taewook connects these systems," Velkan explained. "He doesn't use the standard connectors. He uses what works." Taewook was showing them how to repair a damaged circuit board using parts from a completely different system. It looked wrong according to galactic engineering standards, but it worked perfectly. "The important thing is understanding what each part does," Taewook explained. "Once you understand the purpose, you can find creative ways to achieve it." The young aliens watched in amazement as he turned broken junk into working equipment. Meanwhile, Heejin was in the communication center with Yuna, setting up new emergency protocols. Their experience during the crisis had shown how important it was to have backup communication systems. The station command tried to cut off all outside contact, Heejin explained to the alien communication officers. "That's dangerous during an emergency. You always need multiple ways to call for help. But our procedures say that only authorized personnel can send emergency signals," one officer protested. "Your procedures almost killed everyone," Yuna said bluntly. "Sometimes emergency situations require emergency thinking." The communication officers looked uncomfortable, but they were starting to understand. The old ways hadn't worked when it mattered most. Representative Zalvin had been watching everything with great interest. He spent hours interviewing both humans and aliens, trying to understand what had really happened and why. "The humans were not trying to sabotage your station," he explained to a group of station officials. "They were trying to save it. The problem was that their methods looked wrong to you because they were different." Commander Vextar sat in the corner looking ashamed. He had been relieved of command and was waiting for his disciplinary hearing. His pride and prejudice had nearly caused a disaster. "I don't understand," one official said. "How can primitive, Methods be better than advanced galactic standards? They're not primitive, Zalvin replied. They're adaptive. Human engineering focuses on solving problems creatively, rather than following fixed procedures. Both approaches have value. He turned to address the whole room. The Galactic Council has decided to establish new protocols for emergency situations. When lives are at stake, any competent engineer should be allowed to help, regardless of their species or methods. This announcement caused excited murmuring throughout the room. It was a huge change from traditional galactic policy. Furthermore, Zalvin continued, we are establishing an exchange program. Human engineers will work on alien stations to share their methods. Alien engineers will work with humans to learn adaptive problem-solving. The next week brought even bigger changes. News of the Epsilon station incident had spread across the galaxy. Other stations began requesting human engineering consultants. Some alien governments started questioning their own rigid procedures. Minsu was finally released from the medical bay, though he still moved carefully because of his healing wounds. The first thing he did was visit the main atmospheric processor that had started the whole crisis. It's working perfectly now, Velkan told him proudly. We rebuilt it using both human and alien techniques. Minsu studied the system carefully. The aliens had kept their precise manufacturing and quality controls, but they had added human flexibility and backup systems. It was better than either species could have built alone. This is good work, Minsu said, and Velkan's face lit up with pride. A month later, representatives from dozens of worlds gathered on Epsilon Station for the first Galactic Engineering Conference. Humans and aliens shared knowledge and techniques. The old barriers between species were starting to break down. Chief Engineer Morthek gave the opening speech. His rocky skin had returned to its normal light color, and he looked confident again. 40 years ago, I believed there was only one way to solve engineering problems, he began. The correct way according to our manuals and procedures. I was wrong. The audience listened carefully. Morthek was respected throughout the galaxy for his expertise. The humans taught me that there are many ways to solve problems. The best, engineers don't just follow rules. They understand principles and apply them creatively. Today we begin a new era of cooperation and learning. Kim Daeho and his team sat in the front row, wearing the highest galactic medals for civilian service. They had been honored by dozens of worlds for their courage and skill. But the real reward was seeing the changes their actions had created. Human-alien engineering teams were now working on projects across the galaxy. Problems that had puzzled alien scientists for years were being solved through human creativity combined with alien precision. You know what the best part is? Minsu whispered to Daeho during the conference. What's that? They're not calling us primitive anymore. Daeho laughed quietly. No, they're calling us teachers. After the conference, the human team was offered permanent positions on Epsilon Station as senior engineering consultants. They would lead mixed teams and help train the next generation of adaptive engineers. Will you stay? Velkan asked Daeho. For a while, Daeho replied. There's still a lot of work to do here. And a lot to learn, Morthek added. I may be an old engineer, but I'm not too old to change. 6 months later, Epsilon Station had become the most efficient and well-maintained facility in the galaxy. The human-alien engineering teams had solved problems and made improvements that amazed visitors from other worlds. More importantly, the station had become a symbol of what different species could accomplish when they worked together with respect and open minds. Commander Vextar had been replaced by a new commander who valued cooperation over rigid hierarchy. The new security chief, who had replaced Quindara, established protocols that encouraged reporting problems rather than hiding them. The old way of doing things, following rules without question, dismissing other species as inferior, refusing to adapt to new situations, was slowly being replaced by something better. Late one evening, as Daeho was finishing his shift, he received a message from Earth. It was from the Human Engineering Academy, asking if he would consider teaching a course on adaptive engineering in multi-species environments. He smiled as he typed his reply. I'd be honored to. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from the crisis at Epsilon Station. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the most complex one. Sometimes wisdom comes from the most unexpected places. And sometimes the people you think are your enemies are actually trying to save your life. Most importantly, when different species work together with respect and humility, they can accomplish things that none of them could achieve alone. The reckoning was complete. From near disaster had come understanding, cooperation, and hope for a better future among the stars.